Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in again for another weekly update on news and information on DCS World. I'm your host, of course, Prickly Hedgehog, and as always, I do hope this video finds you well wherever you're tuning in from. Well, a little bit of a late video this week. Unfortunately, we had a little accident at home. My wife inadvertently cut the internet cable while she was gardening. She took to it with a pair of secateurs with great gusto, and yeah, it was a pretty spectacular result. She quickly realized the error and alerted me to the fact that the root that she was cutting was not, in fact, a root. Now, it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise, actually, because the guy that just came and fixed the cable just now had said that I was actually getting basically interference because the cable was originally running around almost the entire length of the outside of the house. I don't know why that was done, but he shortened the length of the cable and he's got rid of the sort of resonance and interference that we were getting. So hopefully a little bit of an improvement in the internet connection, which is, as I said, a little bit of a silver lining, which, yeah, wasn't there before. Let's look at the newsletter this week on a lazy Sunday, which is an interesting one. No major patches, of course, from last week, which is not uncommon as Eagle Dynamics works larger patches in with less bugs needing to be corrected at a later date. This has been going on for a while now, so no changes there. Looks like we're getting ready for some interesting things to be implemented, one of which is going to be a new campaign from Bunyap. And we also have an update on the Hind with regards to the air-to-ground missile view, if you like, the camera view, and a major list of changes, if you like, or implementations for the F-16. And we're going to start with that because that is a biggie. And then we'll also talk here about a little promise of some updates with regards to the Eurofighter. But let's turn back now to this F-16. Now, according to the changelog here that was posted, I think at the end of July by WAGS, they basically let us know that these are the things that are occurring in the aircraft, and this is what they have achieved. Remember that the roadmap was in part created by us. We had the opportunity to vote on various features of the aircraft and put them in some sort of order of priority. They had about 9,500 responses on this. And what they've done for the first half of the year was focusing on a lot of bug fixing. And they also implemented the AGM65 DGHK variants of the Maverick. We have the AGM88C HARM, POS, and HAS modes. We have the GBU31 and GBU38 JDAMs. We have the AGM154A JSOW, BRU57A Smart Rack, the Velocity Vector and VAH HUD option, and the travel pod. And some of these features have been showcased by WAGS during the course of the year. For the second half of the year, they've indicated this is what they're going to be working on: the flight model and flight control surface tuning. Now, apparently this is going to focus on angle of attack and G. They believe it will result in more accurate sustained turn performance, instantaneous turn performance, and acceleration. And I know these come up as discussion points on various forums, actually. There's a few people out there that enjoy analyzing this kind of thing and pointing out the weaknesses and flaws in some of the flight models of the aircraft in DCS world. Most of us probably don't know the difference, but yeah, there you have it. So it'll be interesting to see how this manifests itself in the game and whether or not that satisfies the nerds among you. All right, so HARM targeting system, or HTS pod, and the HARM attack display, or HAD. Air-to-air radar improvements include DT SAM mode, bullseye and intercept steering cue, landing and takeoff handling tuning, cool, JHMCS support for the radar warning receiver, Link 16 and air-to-ground mode, that's going to be cool, electronic countermeasures for the ALQ 131 and 184 ECM pods and FCR jamming indications, air-to-ground radar, so ground map, expand, DBS modes, fixed target track, ground moving target, snowplow, C, and AGR modes. Semi-automatic and automatic countermeasures programs should be implemented. Mark points, HOTAS stair point selection, latitude, longitude, and MGRS coordinate selection, which is neat. and CBU 103 and CBU 105 WCMDs or WCMDs, and then the horizontal situation display cursor or HSD. So this is all second half of 2021. So between now, hopefully, and the end of the year, this is going to be implemented. Again, this is not sequential. Apparently, some of these things will come forward faster than others, depending on the complexity and the general resources that they have to throw at a particular problem or throw at a particular project. There's another way of looking at it. So what does that mean for the second component of this, which is the 2022 list of planned features? So we're talking here complete lightning targeting pod. This mostly consists of correct offset logic and improving display clarity. Sniper XR targeting pod, date transfer cartridge and mission planner, ICP modes, which include cruise, time, fix, ACAL, destination, and bull DD pages. Of these, the cruise apparently will be the highest priority. RWR handoff PRF tones, HUD toss anticipation queue, desired HUD airspeed carrot for cruise mode. The Big Bertha here, the GBU 24 Paveway 3, I think that's the 2,000 pound variant of the bomb. Remaining bombing modes, DTOS manual and LAD, DTOS apparently being the highest priority. Mark 84 Air, the wing fuel wing fuel tank pylon jettison correction, ALE 50 toe decoy. I didn't realize we even had those. The animations for the flight control surface bit. Cool, so that's a neat little thing. The F-18 does that already. The BDU-50 training bomb, the jet fuel starter door animation, the alternate landing gear handle, and the cockpit view pilot model, animated tail hook, air show, smoke pods, ACM slew mode, and radar velocity search mode. So as you can tell, some of those are priority features and some of them less so, and again, some of them more sophisticated to implement than others. So again, that means that the list is not in a sequential order. Expect there to be changes, probably some setbacks. But the one indication that you can get from this too, it's a sort of inference in the sense that we now have this list of things ready to be implemented. It also likely means that the F-18 is going to be close to being released from the nest of early access. And if it's out of early access, then that means more resources can be pushed into the Viper. So again, these things are going to be subject to change, and it's going to be interesting to see again how things manifest themselves finally in the game. And overall, of course, it's going to make this F-16 a much more versatile aircraft than it is right now, and that's going to be a nice complement to the F-18, of course, and that's going to be pleasing for those of you that are multiplayer stalwarts and are looking for more complex mission development by having two very highly sophisticated aircraft. So let me know what your thoughts are on that. Remember, we're talking here too, in terms of our Viper. Obviously, we know it's an F-16C M Block 50, roughly M4.2 plus, and this aircraft operated around about circa 2007. So not a brand spanking new aircraft or anything like that, obviously, but still one that's modern enough to do a lot of data link stuff with AWACS, the F-18s, and be part of a modern combat theatre, which is good news. Now, speaking of modern combat theatre aircraft, we talked here about the Eurofighter. So what we're hinting here is that there's going to be some sort of release about the progress report on the Eurofighter, and I know, of course, many of you are intrigued and excited about this. Of course, I caused quite a stir in the community when I produced a video several weeks ago asking just where the Eurofighter was, because we hadn't heard anything. And we got some fantastic news, obviously, a couple of weeks ago that Heatblur and True Grit Virtual Simulations had teamed up. So we've got some real pedigree there. Not only do we have some clout from the developers of True Grit, we have actual pilots, we have some clued up people that are part of that team, and now we've got a seasoned and proven developer of third-party products in Heatblur teaming up, and we have obviously the Vigan, and we have the F-14 from them, and we also have now the Eurofighter planned. I believe there's another aircraft coming outside of the A6, excuse me, which is touted for an initial release as an AI, a highly detailed one, and then will eventually become a full fidelity flyable aircraft for those of you that are interested in that, and I'm one of them. It's going to be it's a weird looking aircraft. It kind of looks like a tadpole in some respects in terms of its shape, but it's something that I find very, very endearing, and I'm looking forward to seeing that in the game. I can't wait to get into the cockpit of that and what they do with it. Obviously, it has a navigator slash bomber, co-pilot, if you like, and who sits to the right of you, a little bit offset and lower. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that aircraft and what we can use that aircraft for in terms of bombing and anti-SAM interdiction work as well. So again, an older aircraft, of course, from the F-16 and the F-18, and certainly the Eurofighter that we mentioned, but nonetheless, it's going to be a handy addition to carrier ops for those of you that are interested in that, and I'm one of them. All right, moving on to the Hind, which apparently the team there are having a little bit of a break, probably sipping cocktails on a beach somewhere, after a lot of hard work to get this aircraft into the game and released about a month ago to, pretty positive reviews for the most part. They have, of course, an update coming in a pending patch. And what they're going to do here is introduce a fully remodeled pilot operator ATGM sight picture. The improved sight will use a new auxiliary camera instead of the MFD indicator functionality. So all the textures for the sight were redrawn in higher resolution, providing much better frame rates and visual quality, which is good. Now, for VR peeps, this sight was a high priority too, and it now will occupy the whole viewport with some free movement to reduce motion sickness. That's really good. People won't be puking up on their keyboards and their, their fancy home-built cockpits. Now, the dampening has been added to remove small twitches of VR motion sensors affecting the sight picture, and they're currently testing more options for switches, which previously were only toggles, as well as fixes for those commands that were not mappable to controllers. So there's lots of information in there, actually, for just a few short paragraphs. So that's a lot of work that's been done there, and looking forward to the team coming back and continuing to work on this very, very interesting helicopter, which has, as I said, been well received by the community. Right, let's wrap up the newsletter then this week with another little plug for a campaign that's coming up by Bunyap. This is a constant peg campaign for the MiG-21. What's interesting about this is that they have partnered up with Steve Davies, who is the author of Red Eagles, America's Secret MiGs, and he's also the host of the 10% True Tales from the Cockpit podcast and the authority on constant peg operations. So he's brought with him access to the real Red Eagles pilots, and they were able to therefore use their technical guidance to ensure the most realistic experience possible. That's going to be a very interesting campaign. Of course, I don't own the MiG-21, so it looks like it's going to be an interesting challenge for those of you that are interested in flying Red 4. It offers a really interesting opportunity to do something different against modern American tactics, if you like. Now, of course, not all the tactics will be available to us, but there will be some realism to this, and I think that's what's great about this game and this sim, that we do actually have expert input from real pilots and former pilots, providing us with some expertise, therefore, on some of the things that we should be doing with our aircraft in the game to, again, provide increased immersion and, somewhat of a real flight experience within the limitations of a sim, obviously. But and it's cool. It's a very important plug for the game to have actual pilots be willing to give up their time and also feel that the sim is worthy enough to actually do that. I mean, there's sims around and there's games around, but this is the one that they're providing some really interesting input for us to have that experience and have that level of training, if you like, watered down, albeit obviously not all of this stuff is going to be the full brief for obvious reasons. But again, the snippets that we're getting are very, very important for us, for those that like realism and for those that enjoy flying, and not just randomly yanking and banking to get some of the basic tactics down. So that's cool stuff. All right. Well, like I said, I don't own the MiG-21, so I'm looking forward to seeing that come out. And when it is released, we'll have to see what people think of it. All right, let's wrap up this week's newsletter. Once again, thank you, and apologies for the delay. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the channel chug along, of course, and that's a good thing for me, and of course for you, because it provides motivation for more videos that I hope to be able to get out once the summer wraps up. Of course, we're not far away from that. It's been a hot, dry summer in Minnesota, although the last few days we've had some good rain, which has been very much needed. But yeah, it's been a busy summer for me, being injured and not being able to do all the things I wanted to do, and not having a lot of time to fly sometimes. And I'm looking forward to kind of the winter now, so I can get back into flying, getting back into flying with other people, some more multiplayer stuff, which we need to do again. So my buddy Juice, of course, is walking right now somewhere on the Pacific Northwest Trail, I think it is, and posting a few videos. So I'll try and put those up on the community page for you to look at. You know, he's a brave man. There's a video he just posted of him following a black bear. So lots of things to see in the United States, and some of them are a little bit terrifying. Bears are dangerous, or potentially dangerous. So yeah. All right. Well, like I said, let's wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. This is Prickly Hedgehog out. Thanks, guys.